Good evening, church. I'm sure that many of you share my sentiments in the disappointment of tonight's Good Friday worship service being canceled. I arrived to our worship center shortly before 3 o'clock this afternoon to discover that the waters were so high that much of our sidewalks were no longer visible. That was the primary reason we decided to cancel tonight's service. In addition to that, I have learned that our county, Claiborne County, is under a flash flood watch until about halfway through when our service would be completed. And so with all of that in effect, plus just the rain that has been all over our area the last day or so, we decided to cancel tonight's service. Now you see behind me 14 lit candles. These candles are set to be the focal point or center point of our service tonight. Our plan was to have a service of tenebrae, a service of darkness, or a service of shadows, it's often called. And these services, the tenebrae services, they focus very heavily on the last night of Christ's life. There are biblical readings that take place, and in our case, we had music and we had other effects that were set to sort of accompany all this, with the focal point being these candles. And as the service progressed, as each of these scriptures were read, a candle would be extinguished, reminding us of the oncoming extinguishing of Christ's life. By the end of the service, all the candles would be extinguished at the moment of Christ's death. And after that, there were two more scriptures, which really just led up to Christ's entombment. In the video description below, all those scriptures will be listed. My hope is that this evening, you'll find the time to read through those scriptures. And in reading through those scriptures, reflect on that last day of Christ's life, on that moment of betrayal in the Garden of Gethsemane, on the arrest of Jesus, on the false trial of Jesus, on the beating of Jesus, and ultimately reflecting on the death of Jesus. If you have a candle at home, I encourage you to light it. And as you are reading through these scriptures, when you arrive at that moment of Christ's death, I encourage you to extinguish that candle to help us recognize that Christ died. Christ died a violent, horrible, excruciating death. And for so many of us, we shy away from that. We don't want to reflect on the blood. We don't want to reflect on the betrayal. We don't want to reflect on the pain and on the beating, because it makes us uncomfortable. It makes us feel guilty or ashamed, and that's not why we reflect on it. This whole season of Lent that we have been traveling together through the last 6 weeks has been a reminder of our sin. And the most vivid reflection of our sin is seen in Jesus' treatment, his last 24 hours. From that betrayal to his death to his entombment, all that ugly, all the grotesque nature of humanity that's reflected in all that we did to Jesus. That's a reflection of our own brokenness. That's a reflection of our own sinfulness. And so it's hard to look at, because sometimes looking at our own brokenness is really hard to do. I hope that this evening you'll take the time to do that. I know not everyone will. I know not everyone wants to. But I promise you, if we read these scriptures together, if we spend time reflecting on the pain and the hurt inflicted on our Lord, it reminds us of all that God did, all that God endured, that we might call him Lord. So this evening, as we remember the betrayal, the arrest, and the death of Jesus, I pray that you will spend some time reflecting on the scriptures, allowing your imagination to conjure up those scenes in your mind and to reflect upon them. If you have the chance, I encourage you to listen to music that is fitting for this day. I encourage you to make use of other media that helps you reflect better on this day, be it video or song or poetry, so that this day will not pass us by. So it will not just be another Friday, but it will be an opportunity for us to reflect on all the good that was done for us through all the pain that was endured through Christ. Thank you all so much for your time today. Again, I'm so sorry we weren't able to have this service. It really, truly is one of my most favorite worship services of the whole year, so I'm very disappointed we weren't able to have it. But I pray that you all will be safe out there, and that wherever you find yourself this day, that you will be dry, and you will be well, and you'll take the time to reflect on all that Jesus did for us on that Good Friday, that first Good Friday, so long ago. God bless you all. We'll see you Sunday.